Good morning. MJ Powell sitting in for Jake Smith this morning on Out and About Wednesday. We are at Kim Benton State Farms in Millsboro. And joining us this morning is Ted Mermangos. He's the director of the DHS Division of Child Support Services. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning.
All right, so you do this once a month with Jake usually, huh?
Yes, I do.
Excellent. Yeah. Very good. Well, so much to talk about with this, and I also want to tell our listeners that you are welcome to call in, too, if you have a question about child support services. Really, Ted is your expert for sure, and you can call us at 302-945-9292 at any point when you have a question. So, Ted, you know, I was looking through the list of support services, and something stood out, and it's the Fatherhood Program, because sometimes I think fathers get short shrift in our society, and it is so important for a father to be involved.
Absolutely. You know, our Fatherhood Program is really an employment-based program where we want to try to help non-custodial parents. And, you know, I often have to explain the title of the program. It talks about fatherhood, but it's really available to non-custodial parents, whether they're female or male. It's available to custodial parents. We're really trying to help individuals find employment opportunities, or if they need training or education to make them more employable. You know, we want to help them receive those services. So, you know, it's, like I said, an employment-based program where we're trying to help people find employment that will make them be able to be self-sufficient, support themselves, in addition to being able to pay their child support obligations. So, you know, we work very closely with the family court here in Delaware. We can receive referrals from the court as part of a court order that a non-custodial parent is put under. That they contact us and be a part of our Fatherhood Program to be able to help them find employment opportunities. So, you know, oftentimes non-custodial parents go to court and they're telling the family court commissioner or a family court mediator, I'm not working, I can't afford to pay this obligation. And this is an alternative to, you know, just letting them go out on their way. The courts can refer that someone be a part of our Fatherhood Program. So, you know, one of the things that I like about our Fatherhood Program is that it provides an alternative to incarceration. So we've often spoken with the courts to say, look, if you have a non-custodial parent who is non-compliant with their child support order, and you're looking at incarceration as a last resort, we'd like you to give them one other chance. And that's referring them to our Fatherhood Program and let us try to work with them to find employment opportunities. You know, sometimes they just need a little bit more training to become more employable, and we want to try to help them do that too.
Oh, that's great. Is there a deadline for them? For instance, if they need training or whatever, do they have X amount of time to get up to speed? Yeah,
I mean, when we try to, there's some things we can do when we talk about our enforcement. You know, like one of the most talkative programs that we have is our license suspension program. We probably get the most inquiries from non-custodial parents about the fact that we're either going to suspend, we've already suspended a license, and they want to so there's that type of enforcement tool. We can say, hey, look, if you come and be a part of our Fatherhood Program, we'll either give you your license back or not suspend your license as long as you're participating and actively trying to find employment. So there are some enforcement tools that we can kind of slow up on or stop in order to help them gain some compliance with their child support obligations.
I see. Oh, yeah. Well, that would, losing your license would certainly be a motivating factor. So,
yeah. I mean, and it's not only, and we've talked about this in this forum before, you know, it's driver's licenses, it's professional licenses, it's business licenses, and hunting and fishing licenses here in the state of Delaware. So I'm often surprised by the number of inquiries we get related to hunting and fishing. People want to be able to have that recreational license, and child support, like I said, can suspend that license, and you know, sometimes we'll give that license back with as long as they start to comply with the program, with their child support obligation. And then there's certain extremes where we have to say, look, if you don't make a lump sum payment on your child support case, we're not going to be able to give you that license back. And oftentimes they go to family court and have the courts intervene.
Oh, I see.
But ultimately, we talk about our license suspension program a lot because it's what I kind of like about it is that if a non-custodial parent hears from us that we're going to suspend a license, it's an opportunity really for them to reach out to us and have that open conversation about trying to get in compliance with their court order and getting in compliance with making regular child support payments and making them on a consistent basis. And, we're willing to give licenses back, but there's got to be some effort on behalf of non-custodial parents to gain compliance with the court order.
Right. So if a non-custodial parent comes to you and really does want help finding employment, what sort of, do you offer training? Do you set up interviews for them? How do you go about it? Is it sort of like the unemployment office, or is it a different approach?
Exactly. We have a couple of vendors actually, that we can refer these non-custodial parents to. And the first thing that they do is an assessment to get a better understanding of the individual's strengths, weaknesses, and areas that they think that they can work, whether it's a training situation or more education to kind of get them to become more employable. So that assessment is really key to understanding what the best kind of career outlook or career path that person can face in the future. So, and then oftentimes it's, they have a list of employers here in the state of Delaware that are active recruiting. It can be as simple as a direct referral. After that assessment's done, hey, this company over here, it falls your strengths are, and they're actually interviewing, and we can set you up with an interview with that company. So it's, helping with resumes, completing job applications.
Oh, sure.
And then making that referral to employers here in the state of Delaware who are hiring. They also work directly with the Department of Labor, and the Department of Labor has a ton of great tools that individuals can use to find employers who are hiring in the state, and they work directly with the Department of Labor to kind of place people in those particular jobs. So there's a whole bunch of tools that we're using to try and help people find employment. And oftentimes we're posting employment opportunities on our Facebook page, on our website, and we're always referring people to look at those sites.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful. So, in terms of other sorts of, I'm sorry, we have a caller. Caller, would you like to give us your name and tell us where you're calling from?
Hey, this is Chuck calling from Georgetown, Delaware.
Hey, Chuck, go right ahead.
So I have a question about this child support thing, because I've seen a couple instances where, like, for instance, my example, we have a mutual agreement and a signed thing that was notarized, and we went to court for it. And so it's pretty much, we both have, she has sole custody. I have, visitation and stuff like that. I go up, pick them up. They live out of state, and I spend as much time with them as well as have them throughout the summer. Well, so I help with clothes and necessities, plus bills, and as well as anything else that, she might need in order to keep a sustainable and comfortable living for her and the kids. Now, the state of Delaware had sent me a letter and said that we were going to go to court because I had owed her back child support, even though we had the mutual agreement that was signed off on by a judge in family court. So it began to be a whole process, and eventually they were telling me that they were going to take my commercial license, and they were going to, like what you were saying earlier, take my recreational licenses. However, it ended up being overturned. So what can I do, or what should I do to prevent, I guess, future misunderstanding with child support enforcement?
Right. So, as you mentioned, you have a personal agreement with the other party, and I'm assuming when you talk about the courts, we're talking about the Delaware courts.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, what I what I would do is this. I would certainly make sure if you have to go back to court here in the state of Delaware, that you would want to make sure that that they're aware that there's these agreements in place, and you want to always make sure that if you're providing additional funds to support the child, that if you feel that that's something you need to bring to the court's attention, you should always try to get receipts from the other party that you provided certain items over and above what the court ordered. And the courts can certainly look at that and determine whether they want to give you credit for things that were paid outside of the actual court obligation. Ultimately, if you have an agreement, you always want to make sure that the family court is made aware of that document, so that they can certainly consider it a court order.
Okay, because I did take that into the Child Support Enforcement Office, and they said that was I forget how she said it, but she said that was not a valid thing for the state of Delaware because she lives out of state. And I was like, but we both live here. All our kids were born here. So I didn't understand, I guess, in a nutshell, what was going on with that aspect, because they summoned her to court, and she had agreed that I had fulfilled all of the needs for her and the children as far as financial goes.
Right. So here in the state of Delaware, we are considered a judicial state. So when you probably went into our child support office with that agreement, that they're going to say if it's not a court order from the family court, or the family court has not signed off on an agreement between the parties, it's not going to really have much relevance to us at the child support office. So I'm glad that they told you that, our employees told you that, and actually referred you to the family court to make that document here in the state of Delaware legal with the family court's intervention.
Okay, I got you. I see what you're saying.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. We're going to get more of your calls coming up. And right now, we have news, and we have your Fox Business Report on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, the talk of Delmarva. Good morning. MJ Powell joining you. I am sitting in this morning, on this beautiful morning, for Jake Smith. And here we are out and about Wednesday. We are at Kim Benton State Farm in Millsboro. And joining us is Sandy Hudson. Hi, Sandy. Good to have you back.
It's good to be back.
Well, we talked about life insurance the last time, and this time I thought we'd talk about disability insurance. What do you offer here at State Farm?
We offer different products. We offer short-term disability, long-term disability. We offer supplement policies if you're preparing for retirement for Medicare. We also offer a hospital income policy, which is like a supplement to your out-of-pocket expense. That one is actually all of them are very near and dear to my heart. I just recently had to submit my own claim for my hospital income policy. We don't like to talk about that, but I did. I just spent 5 days in the hospital.
Oh, gee.
And I'm going back again. But I've already received my check. So I can apply that to my out-of-pocket expense for my insurance. So it's wonderful to review that stuff. People say, I have it at work. I can guarantee you do not have enough at work to supplement your out-of-pocket expense.
Right. Now, that's something people wouldn't even think of, I guess.
Nope.
Yeah. So it's just an example of why it's a great idea to make an appointment and come in to get an assessment.
It's really discouraging or encouraging, however you want to look at it, when you get a call from your health insurance company saying, congratulations, you've met your yearly maximum out-of-pocket. So are you prepared to pay that yearly maximum out-of-pocket?
Oh, yeah.
And we can help with that.
Oh, that is wonderful to know. Well, that's great. Well, Sandy, thank you. And we'll be talking to you again.
We are.
And we're wishing you the absolute best. You have to go in again, but at least you know you're well covered, so you don't have to worry about that. One less thing to worry about. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to Sandy Hudson. And again, we are here live on Out and About Wednesday at Kim Benton State Farm. It's located at 29848 Millsboro Highway in Millsboro. Coming up, we are going to return to our talk with Ted Myrmagos. Oh, we're actually going to do it. We're not going to take a break right now. Oh, Ted, it's so great that you're here and ready to go. You're more ready than I am. It's a little upsetting on my end, but I'm glad that you're here.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So, for people who are just joining us, Ted is the director of the DHS Division of Child Support Services. So, Ted, you get a lot of email via WGMD because you do this with Jake once a month.
Yeah.
Did you get any interesting emails today?
Yeah, well, we actually had an email today, but, kind of like going off this last call that we had from, I think his name was Chuck, there's one of the things we talk about a lot is we want parents to be able to work out these situations on their own. And just like he mentioned, that previous caller, they have an agreement amongst themselves, and that's great. And we certainly want what's best for the family unit, and we want people to be able to work out their child support situations without having to come to child support or without having to get the family court involved. But oftentimes, a custodial parent may seek assistance from one of our sister agencies at DHSS, and that's the Division of Social Services. They may get Medicaid or may get temporary assistance to needy families. And it's important for parents to know that if you go to the Division of Social Services and get these types of services, that child support is automatically going to be involved in your child support case. We are required by the federal government to create a child support obligation for parents who are receiving TANF to repay back the state of Delaware. We will actually collect child support to repay the state when a custodial parent is on TANF. And when a child is on Medicaid, we're responsible for creating court orders with the family court to get medical insurance coverage. So there's a lot of relationships between the Child Support Program and other agencies here at DHSS. But it's, ultimately, if those parties have an agreement outside of the state, if someone gets TANF, temporary assistance to needy families, or Medicaid, we're going to be involved and get an actual court order with the family court that will negate those arrangements. And that was one of the emails that I got since the last time I was here through Jake. We have an agreement, but I'm on Medicaid, and now the child support agency is involved. How does my agreement with my ex that we have outside of the court system, how is that affected? And the basic response that I gave to this custodial parent was, we're going to go to court and get you a medical order. We're going to create a case. We are going to bring the parties into family court, and we're going to get a court order for at least medical insurance coverage, so that if you're working or the non-custodial parent is working and health insurance is available at your employer and it's available to you at a reasonable cost, you have to enroll that child in that private insurance plan. But it does not involve a financial order. Only if the person is on TANF would we ask the court to put in a financial order for child support. But if the parents, if that child is just on Medicaid, it's just a medical order. So I got an email from a custodial parent that says, my child is on Medicaid, and I explained to her, we're going to go to court, but you don't have to take a financial order, just that medical coverage order. So we can, and if insurance isn't available to them at a reasonable cost, they still don't have to enroll that child, but at least there's a court order in place that says you would have to enroll the child when it's available.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, so there is a little bit of we want parents to be able to work it out, but we certainly have to get involved if the state of Delaware is putting out, medical insurance coverage or is providing TANF checks to custodial parents.
I see. Okay. Well, that's good to know then.
Yeah.
One of the other things that you offer is help in locating a parent.
Yeah.
How does someone go about that?
Yeah, we have so many locate tools. And we're talking about locate tools that come in from the federal government, local and state entities. We're receiving information about, for the child support program, as long as we have an individual's name and social security number, we can run locate, like IRS data and other types of federal government information to try and verify a person's location, whether they're in the state of Delaware or in another state around the country. We have those tools. Oftentimes, we're getting information from employers. So like if a non-custodial parent is working in a different state, that employer is required to report to the federal government that they've hired someone, and this is their name, and this is their social security number. And that information is shared with child support agencies around the country, and we can actually do locate based on the information we're getting from employers around the country. It's basically called the National Directory of New Hires. So if I were to go out and get a part-time job here in the state of Delaware, that employer is required to report to the state directory of new hire that they've hired me, and that information is shared with the federal government and with other child support agencies around the country. So we do a lot of locate. We often have custodial parents that come to us and say, all I have is his name and birthday, or all I know is his name and this is the last place he lived. And we can use that information as a start to try and nail down where somebody may be located. A while back, we actually had a success story, and we shared it here with Jake, when we couldn't find a custodial parent, and we were able to use some locate tools and contacted her, and we were able to give her child support, a lump sum check. I think it was almost $10,000 because we lost track of her, and then we were able to get some new locate information, and we were able to have a conversation with her, and she came in and picked up a that had been waiting. So we were really excited about that.
Yeah, that's certainly satisfying. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it comes to, and I know we have to be careful, using words like paternal, whatever. So if we're talking about a non-custodial parent who has not actually establish the relationship with the child.
Right.
Does that get trickier? I mean, how do you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, it can get very tricky. And one of the things that we're required to do, one of the first things we do probably after locate is we try to establish paternity. And we've talked a little bit about that before, and it's so important to us as a child support agency. Paternity in Delaware can be established in 3 ways. The first way is if the parties are married. So if the parties are married and they have a child, paternity for that child is automatically established because the parties were married. We also here at the Child Support Program, we have the Voluntary Acknowledgement of Paternity Program. And that's when the mom obviously says, I know I'm the mother of this child. And the father says, I know I am the biological father of this child. There's a form that we have at the Child Support Office, and the Office of Vital Statistics. Every Office of Vital Statistics has this form. The parties can go in. We would mail them a copy if they want it, sign it and notarize it, and they file that document with the Office of Vital Statistics at Public Health, and that father's name is automatically added to the birth certificate.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah, and then the third way is through genetic testing, and we at Child Support can schedule someone to have genetic testing done at a lab, or the family courts can order that someone have genetic testing done. And back in the day, there was they talk about drawing blood and all that kind of stuff. They don't do that. They don't do that anymore.
Is it a swab sort of thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's much better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the parties and the children go in and they get that swab done, and paternity can be established that way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we have a caller on the line. Hello, caller. Would you like to give us your first name and tell us where you're calling from? Are you there? I don't know if we lost the caller. Okay. Feel free to call back. And again, we do welcome your calls. We're going to take a quick break, but I'm going to give you the number going out. It's 302-945-9292, your opportunity to call in. for Jake Smith on Out and About Wednesday. So we are actually out and we are about. Currently, we are at Kim Benton State Farm in Millsboro. And joining us, as he does once a month, is Ted Murmagos, Director of the DHS Division of Child Support Services. Welcome back, Ted.
Thank you.
So, Ted, I know you get a lot of email via Jake Smith because of this popular show. Yep. And I wondered if you want to talk about any other email you've received recently.
Yeah, I mean, I just got one this morning on my way down. I took a look at it when I got into the parking lot here. And, it was from a custodial parent who indicated the other party just lost their job. And they currently, through that employer, had medical insurance coverage, was getting child support payments regularly, and she was interested in knowing, like, what's the next steps? Like, what do I do now that he's no longer employed? And, I'm going to certainly respond to her in writing when I get back to my office, but she gave us permission to talk about it on the radio today. And it's, we work very hard to try and help. We already talked a little bit about the Fatherhood Program, people finding employment. But ultimately, the next step is to talk to the actual caseworker assigned to her case. And one of the things we find out kind of really does bring in a lot of information is reaching out to that non-custodial parent and finding out what the circumstances are related to his loss of employment, really trying to provide him with some knowledge about what we can do to try to help him find new employment, and really kind of give him some contact information. So if he finds employment, we want him to contact us, and we can certainly get a new order of income withholding. It's also known as a wage withholding or wage attachment to his new place of employer, so that when he does start collecting a paycheck, that employer can make a deduction and send the child support payment to our office. We collect about 76% of all child support here in the state of Delaware from a wage withholding sent to an employer. So oftentimes employers are telling us, hey, we hired so-and-so, but the best possible information comes from that non-custodial parent. The quicker he can let us know, I got a new job, we can send that new attachment out. Ultimately, they're required to make those payments on their own until that wage attachment starts. But we really want that non-custodial parent to make contact with us so we can talk to him about his options, whether it's, how to make payments on your own, or, if you're going to be unemployed for a long period of time, maybe you need to go to family court and file for a modification of the existing order or something along those lines. But we really do try to reach out to non-custodial parents to say, hey, what can we do to help you find employment? And this is what you can do while you're unemployed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you don't actually modify support in those cases. You said they would be directed to a family court.
Right. And one of the things, that I always do have to remind people sometimes is we represent custodial parents. And they're our clients, but we are not bound to not communicate with non-custodial parents. We want to help them understand and maneuver. The maneuvering through the child support process here in the state can be cumbersome and can be difficult. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure they understand how to do it and who can a non-custodial parent seek help from in the family court system to file certain documents like a modification petition.
When it comes to those, I know it's not done, under your auspices, but just for people out there to know, if someone is out of work for a time and there's a modification, does it mean that he's responsible for all that back pay, but they can adjust it so be able to do it in lesser payments for a time until he's caught up?
And that's a great question, because a lot of the time they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. And the sooner they know that, hey, I need to go to family court and file for that modification, the courts will allow for retroactivity. Uh-huh. So, it takes a little bit of time to get the petition filed and then a hearing scheduled and then actually showing that, attending that hearing.
Right.
But the courts will look back and go retroactive. If they modify it from, hypothetically, $100 a month to $50 a month, they go retroactive in time from the date that petition was filed at family court. And anything that accrued under the old order would be, there would be a credit against any arrears that accrued.
I see.
Based on the new obligation.
Wow. And so, you already mentioned that in a lot of cases it's the employer who makes the deduction for you, but there's also a direct deposit method that people can use?
Well, and direct deposit is really for custodial parents.
Oh, I see.
We have, I'll give you the rundown on the custodial parents can receive child support by direct deposit,
Right.
and by a Visa Relia card, and that's a card that they have, and we automatically load those payments to, and it can be used just like a regular credit card or debit card. Where wherever purchases are, they want to make a purchase, they can use that debit card. On the other side, on the flip side, non-custodial parents, there's a ton of ways that we can get payments from them. We talked about the wage withholding payment from an employer. They can send a check or money order to our child support office. In every court order that's written in the state of Delaware, it says where they can mail those payments.
I see.
They can go to any DMV or probation office here in the state of Delaware. There's a kiosk. They can make a cash payment or a check payment at those kiosks to pay their child support obligation. And then we have iPay Online, which is a website that they can make a payment from a credit card, a bank account, a credit union account. They can make a one-time payment or a reoccurring payment. And then we are very close to starting to accept payments by telephone by calling our child support customer service unit at 577-7171. So we're going to be able to accept payments by telephone within the next 30 days or so. So we're really excited about that.
Yes.
And then Venmo and PayPal, in the next 6 months, we're going to be able to start accepting payments those two ways.
Oh, gosh, really? Wow. That is great.
Yes.
My gosh. Any other tips that you can give us on how your division can help people?
Yes. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier when we were talking about license suspension, we send out, it's ridiculous the number of letters we are sending out to custodial parents and non-custodial parents every day. One of the things I always tell people is don't ignore those letters because it's got a lot of good information in it, and it can really prevent, if you open that letter and read it, it may actually prevent some enforcement actions from happening against you. So the bit of advice I always try to tell people is don't ignore us. We want to help you. It's better to kind of face those letters and contact us, and we will work with you in most cases to try to resolve your child support issues.
Right. Oh, great. Okay. And there's no excuse not to pay, obviously, because you have so many ways that people can pay. But no, it's great to know that you help people find the support, and those who earnestly want to pay and are unemployed, that you've got support services for them as well. Yeah, that is really wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. And everyone, you've been listening to Ted Murmangos. He's the director of the DHS Division of Child Support Services. You'll be back with Jake next month.
Yes, I will.
Excellent. Yes, this is very great. It's a monthly occurrence, and it's your chance to call in and to get all kinds of details on the latest.
Thank you very much. It was very nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you, Ted.
Thank you.